to embarrass him like that, to destroy his character, to just take away his dignity. That was so wrong of him to do.
It is just awful. On the video footage, you will see Devontae trying to run for his life, and you will see him being beaten, punched, kicked.
Mitchell's sister says the unreleased video shows him frantically running in the hotel.
It started like any typical afternoon at a downtown Milwaukee hotel. Guests coming and going, luggage rolling across the lobby, until a scene unfolded outside that arrested everyone's attention. A man pinned face first to the concrete beneath the combined weight of 4 grown men. He could not move. His hands were restrained. His legs were held fast. The last sound caught on bystanders' phones was a trembling, desperate pleas. Seconds after that plea, movement ceased. 8 to 9 minutes. That's how long he lay pressed into the pavement, chest compressed, lungs fighting for air, knees and elbows digging into his back and neck. 8 to 9 minutes before the struggle ended, because he stopped breathing. This was not a police apprehension. This was not a hostage extraction. This wasn't even a conventional violent encounter. It happened in front of a hotel, where families checked in for weddings and business travelers wheeled suitcases into elevators. The man who died that afternoon was 43-year-old Devontae Mitchell. Before we go any further, tell me in the comments, do you think private security should be held to the same legal standards as police when someone dies under their restraint? I'm reading every reply, because today we're unpacking how a man walked into a hotel alive and was carried out in a body bag minutes later. Devontae did not die from a gunshot. He was not stabbed. He was not chased down and beaten in a street brawl. He died because untrained hotel employees, not sworn officers, not medical or crisis professionals, used levels of force they had no business applying. There were punches, kicks, knees pressed into his back and neck, strikes with improvised implements, and a flat disregard for a basic rule every responder should know. When someone is face down and becomes unresponsive, you stop. They did not. And that failure was not simply a moment of human error. It exposed systemic problems. No de-escalation training. Zero mental health crisis awareness. A culture that too often treats distressed black men as immediate threats rather than people in need of help. And a justice system that, as you'll see, delivered very limited accountability. This episode is not merely about 4 men outside a hotel. It's about a pattern across institutions where those charged with safety end up inflicting harm. In this episode of Dark Trace Crime Stories, you'll learn what happened inside the women's restroom that prompted staff intervention, how hotel employees escalated from concern to dragging, striking, and lethal restraint, what the medical examiner concluded about Devontae's final moments, and why those findings shocked Milwaukee. How 4 men pleaded guilty, yet almost none of them served meaningful prison time. If you're new here, welcome to Dark Trace Crime Stories, where we not only tell cases, we examine how systems fail people and how tragedies can be prevented. Now step back with me, just far enough to see the person behind the headlines. Before his name became a national headline, before activists chanted outside Milwaukee's courthouse, Devontae Mitchell was family. Born in 1981 and raised in Milwaukee, he grew up in a tight-knit home where loyalty mattered. Relatives remember him as a big teddy bear, a quiet giant with a soft heart. He loved to cook and loved music. He delighted in making people laugh, turning ordinary nights into moments his family still replays. He was a father of 2, a son and a daughter who adored him. Despite personal struggles, he was present. Birthdays, school events, and long conversations on hard days. Family members say his children meant everything to him. He was married to Deasia Harmon. He was a brother to Naisha, Samantha, and others. They often described how deeply connected he was to them. His mother called him her protector, the one who stepped up during difficult times and kept the family steady. And that's why his death struck Milwaukee so hard, not only because of how he died, but because of who was gone. June 30th, 2024 was an ordinary summer afternoon in downtown Milwaukee. The Hyatt Regency's revolving doors kept turning. Guests checked in. Families rolled suitcases across polished floors. Conference badges hung from lanyards. Vacationers and business travelers moved through the lobby. Everyday life. Into that scene walked Devontae Mitchell. He was not carrying a weapon. He was not threatening staff or other guests. He was not chasing anyone. But multiple witness statements and surveillance footage alike indicate he appeared distressed, disoriented, his movements suggesting fear more than hostility. Minutes after entering the lobby, Devontae went into the women's restroom. 2 women were inside. According to official reports, they told investigators he attempted to lock the door while they were still in the stall area. Alarmed, they alerted hotel staff. That should have been the moment for calm, trained de-escalation. Instead, panic moved in. Security guard Brandon LaDaniel Turner responded first. Reports say he yanked Devontae out of the restroom and physically dragged him through the lobby. A hotel guest stepped in to assist Turner in restraining him. At that point, there were questions that needed answering. Was Devontae armed? There's no report that he was. Was he trying to assault anyone? No evidence supports that. Was he experiencing a mental health or substance-related crisis in need of medical attention? There were strong indicators of distress. None of those questions were asked. Turner escalated from extraction to full-force removal. Additional hotel staff soon joined in. 3 more employees entered the scene. Todd Allen Erickson, the hotel's security manager. Devin W. Johnson Carson, a front desk agent. Herbert T. Williamson, a Belma nun, were police officers. None were medical professionals. None were trained crisis responders. Yet within seconds they became a coordinated group dragging one man toward the hotel driveway. Court documents and video evidence show their actions went well beyond simply guiding him outside. The encounter included at least 6 punches, 1 kick, strikes with objects, what appeared to be a collapsible baton or broom handle, hands gripping his arms, legs, and shoulders. Physical force escalating into complete domination. Witnesses described Devontae pulling away, stumbling, frantic, more like someone trying to escape than someone actively attacking. Then, in one abrupt motion visible on surveillance footage, the group forced him face down onto the concrete just outside the hotel's main entrance. That's where the fatal countdown began. Face down, chest compressed, multiple bodies on top of him. This prone restraint, commonly referred to as being held in a face-down or prone position, is known in law enforcement, medical, and crisis response communities to be extremely dangerous. It restricts breathing, compresses the torso, prevents adequate lung expansion, and when weight is added, can make effective inhalation nearly impossible. According to the Milwaukee County Medical Examiner, Devontae Mitchell was morbidly obese, living with pre-existing heart disease, testing positive for cocaine and methamphetamine, both substances that increase cardiac strain. Those conditions should have triggered extreme caution. They did not. Instead, the restraint was sustained and intensified. Turner held Devontae's legs. Erickson applied pressure to his back. Williamson and Johnson Carson gripped his shoulders and arms. At one point, a bystander even assisted in holding him down. Witness recordings captured Devontae crying please, saying I'm sorry, and a guard repeatedly ordering him, stay down, stop fighting. But the video shows something unmistakable. Devontae was not fighting. He was struggling to breathe. This was not a fist fight. It was suffocation unfolding in slow motion. From the moment he hit the ground, the restraint continued for 8 to 9 uninterrupted minutes, longer than the runtime of many short films, longer than average 911 response times in numerous cities, and more than enough time for irreversible harm to occur. 8 to 9 minutes of pressure, panic, strikes, verbal orders, pleading, and a man pinned to concrete with no ability to expand his chest. Bystander video shows passers-by watching an alarm, some begging staff to ease off or stop. The employees continued. Then, as is tragically common in other restraint deaths involving prone positions, movement slowed. His arms went slack. His legs stopped kicking. His voice fell silent. But the staff did not immediately disengage. That delay, seconds that feel like an eternity to a person deprived of oxygen, only worsened the outcome. When they eventually rolled him over, it was too late. By the time Milwaukee police officers and emergency medical personnel arrived, they found Devontae unresponsive, exactly where staff had pinned him. Attempts were made to revive him, but they failed. At 4:11 p.m., he was pronounced dead. A man who entered a hotel lobby alive was declared dead on its driveway less than an hour later. The Milwaukee County Medical Examiner performed an autopsy. The official findings were clear. Cause of death: restraint asphyxia. He died because he was held face down in a way that prevented effective breathing. Contributing factors: morbid obesity, pre-existing heart disease, cocaine and methamphetamine intoxication, yet the ruling was homicide. Because, regardless of substances or medical conditions, it was people who pinned him down. This was preventable, avoidable, and as family and advocates argued, utterly unnecessary. What happened next shocked the public almost as much as the death itself. Before we move on, do you believe private security and hotel employees should be legally barred from using prone restraints, the same restriction many police departments have adopted? Comment your thoughts below. Your engagement helps these stories reach the people who need to hear them. Now let's follow the legal aftermath, the plea deals, and the ongoing fight for justice.
In a room with journalists and her attorney, Deja Harmon relived her husband's last moments alive.
This is somebody I spent 12 years of my life with. And now I have to watch his life being taken for nothing.
A month after Devontae Mitchell died outside of the Hyatt in downtown Milwaukee, the medical examiner has officially ruled his death a homicide. The cause? Restraint asphyxia and the effects of cocaine and meth.
He wanted to leave. He was trying to leave and they wouldn't let him.
Referred to the district attorney's office.
They could have just waited on the police. He could have went to jail. And I would have been okay with taking care of him in air and not having to see him being lowered into the ground because of other people's actions.
When a medical examiner concluded Devontae Mitchell's death resulted from restraint asphyxia, it confirmed what many members of the public already suspected. This was not a tragic medical accident. It was a preventable death caused by human decisions. Decisions made by individuals entrusted with authority inside a major American hotel. Decisions that continued not only during the restraint, but in the legal aftermath. Because if you think the story ends with a homicide ruling, it does not. This is where the system, the one that should protect the living and honor the dead, failed the second time. Within days of the incident, the Hyatt Regency's management company, which was a third-party operator and not Hyatt corporate, fired all 4 employees involved in restraining Devontae Mitchell. Public outrage mounted rapidly. Video clips circulated across local TV news and social media. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump announced he was representing the family. Milwaukee residents held vigils and protests. Community leaders demanded criminal charges. And on July 5, 2024, Milwaukee police made a major move. They referred felony murder charges, with underlying counts of battery, against all 4 employees. For a moment, it appeared accountability might follow. But the path from charges to meaningful punishment proved far less straightforward. Over the following year, plea negotiations played out. One by one, each defendant accepted plea deals. Todd Allen Erickson, security manager, pled guilty to being a party to felony murder. The judge imposed a 2-year prison sentence, but stayed that sentence, meaning he served 0 actual prison time. Instead, Erickson received 2 years of probation. Brandon LaDaniel Turner, security guard, pled guilty to related charges and received a 1-year sentence that was stayed, resulting in probation rather than incarceration. Herbert T. Williamson Bellman was sentenced to 10 days in jail, but given credit for time served, effectively walking free. Devin W. Johnson Carson, front desk agent, was sentenced to 4 days, with credit for time served, effectively no additional jail time. A man had been killed. 4 men were implicated. The medical examiner labeled the death a homicide. Yet none of the defendants served meaningful prison time. That outcome provoked a second wave of public anger, not only among activists, but among everyday citizens who watched the footage and questioned how such a result could occur in a nation that claims to prize justice. In August 2024, the family reached a confidential civil settlement with the management company that ran the Hyatt Regency, Milwaukee. There was no public admission of wrongdoing, no sweeping policy reform, no corporate reckoning announced. A check was written. Legal forms were signed. Officially, the hotel moved on. But Devontae's family could not move on. For them, this was not merely a civil case or a headline on the news. It was the violent, unnecessary loss of a father, a son, a husband, and a brother. Each Sunday, his family holds demonstrations. They give interviews and repeat his name. They march carrying his photograph. They do this because the system didn't deliver justice, and because they will not let his memory be buried under legal paperwork.
Well, I'm grateful charges have been made. That is a start for us, but we still have a long way to go.
It's been a grueling 6 weeks for Brenda Giles as she watched her son die on video at the hands of 4 Hyatt Regency employees who were criminally charged just this week.
You know, we would have went through so much with all these protesting and, marching and screaming and shouting. And it took 37 days for them to start to try to do something. It was very stressful. They're not trained and they don't know how to do their job, then why hire them? Because they're going to continue to murder people.
Eric,
they all played a part of it. They all had a part in my son's murder.
On July 11, 2024, Milwaukee gathered to mourn Devontae at the Holy Redeemer Institutional Church of God in Christ. Civil rights leader Al Sharpton delivered the eulogy. He handed out checks to support the mothers of Devontae's 2 children, a public act that underlined one fact: this man did not die alone, and his children would not be left without support. Family members spoke openly. A sister-in-law said the video made him appear as though they treated him like an animal. His mother wept. His wife, Deasia, stood in grief. His children watched their father's memorial on a screen instead of seeing him walk through the door again. It was a day of mourning and a day of resolve. His family vowed they would not let his death be forgotten. Devontae Mitchell's death forces a difficult truth. Lethal restraint is not merely a policing problem. It has become a cultural problem. When hotel staff, not sworn officers, not trained crisis professionals, feel empowered to punch, kick, and pin a distressed man face down for nearly 9 minutes, it reveals a system that normalizes force as a primary response. It reveals how implicit bias can convert distress into perceived danger, particularly when the person in crisis is a black man. It reveals how private security, frequently undertrained and underregulated, can act like de facto law enforcement without the training, oversight, or accountability that should accompany such power. Until training replaces force and recognition of shared humanity replaces instinctive fear, people in crisis will continue to die under knees, fists, and assumptions. When the videos of Devontae's final moments spread across Milwaukee and beyond, thousands of people saw the same footage. A man calling out, gasping for breath, trying to survive, while 4 untrained staff members pressed the life out of him. But to his family, the video was not the whole story. They remembered Devontae as the man who cooked big holiday meals, the man who danced around the living room, the one who played music loudly on Sunday mornings, the man who picked up the phone just to check on his mother, the man who hugged his children in a way that made them feel safe. His death made national headlines, but his life created memories no news package can fully capture. As his family continues to seek accountability, they also honor the person he was: gentle, warm, artistic, loving. They assemble every week because they know something America frequently refuses to admit. If we stop saying their names, the system wins. If we stop demanding changes, the deaths continue. If we stop caring, nothing gets better. This case is not solely the story of one hotel's failure. It is a portrait of the cost communities pay when force replaces training, when fear supplants compassion, and when a person in crisis is treated as a problem to be subdued rather than as a human being in need of help. Devontae's children will grow up with questions. His mother will age under the weight of a grief that never fully lifts. His sisters, cousins, and extended family will carry memories that both comfort them and haunt them. Yet because of people who watch, comment, share, and stay informed, his story will not vanish. If you believe Devontae Mitchell deserved better, and that stories like his must be seen, heard, and remembered, take action. Share this video. Comment his name below. Subscribe to Dark Trace Crime Stories for more cases like this. His life mattered. His name matters. And together, by keeping attention on the facts and pushing for reform, we can make sure the world does not look away.